Ryan, thank you. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Doing great, Mad Dog. How you doing? You look good. You look very tan.
Okay.
You've been golfing a lot.
I sure have. Yeah, and some tennis. I've done plenty of that. Yeah, I'm getting ready to get my kids to school, including to University of Wisconsin for my junior. So let's hope it
Nice.
goes there in late August. All right, we got a lot to do keep our, that's right, W and Badgers. Let's first start the DH. It helps the Brewers, correct? They can put Braun there if they have to, put Garcia in the outfield. They got Yelich, they got Kane. They have the extra bats, so DH will help Milwaukee in 2020. Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, they didn't build the roster for a DH, but I think it does work out well, maybe more than better than any other National League team, because they brought in Avisail Garcia as a free agent. So they were going to kind of have this four-man revolving door in the outfield with Braun playing some first base, knowing that Kane and Braun would need occasional days off. Now it's a 60-game sprint. You can roll with Yelich, Kane, and Avisail Garcia, have Braun DH mostly, and they feel like they've kind of landed in a pretty sweet spot here with the designated hitter.
That's number one. Number two, they got a lot of guys in that bullpen, and I would think that in this year, especially early, pitchers will not be taxed. They like to go bullpen anyway. I think that's a plus. What's your take on that?
Yep, you're on it, because the Brewers have been functioning this way for the last few years, as you know, and you've talked about often on your show, that they're used to this pliable, flexible, versatile bullpen that has guys pitching in different scenarios. So I think the Brewers are equipped for a run like this based on the bullpen setting. You're going to have 30 players. They're going to carry probably 16 or 17 pitchers right out of the gate. So the roster's at 30 to start the season for 2 weeks. It'll go to 28 and then 26. So the Brewers have a nice starting rotation. They're excited about. Their bullpen looks really good. We've been televising these scrimmages, these blue gold series they're calling it, and they've got a lot of different looks out of their bullpen. So I think Milwaukee is a sleeper team, in my opinion, not just because I do their games, but I think they're a sleeper team in the division and in the National League because of their pen.
100%. And now that young second baseman can hit. We saw him at the end of last year. I would think maybe he's going to be a 300 hitter. Give me a little rundown on that for a sec. Let me go.
Yeah, Keston Hiura is breaking news on your show here, Chris. So we've been televising these games. So we've been having the players wear microphones and earpieces. So we've been able to communicate with them. Last night, Christian Yelich wore it the whole game and was outstanding. Tonight, Keston Hiura is going to wear the microphone and the earpiece, so we'll be able to converse with him. But he looks like a star to me. I mean, his defense is improving. That was the knock on him. He had some elbow issues coming out of UC Irvine, but he's always been able to hit, and he arrived to the big leagues last year as a hitter, as if he had been in the big leagues for a decade. And he's the everyday second baseman now. He's gonna play every day. He's gonna be the main protection behind Christian Yelich, hitting third in that lineup with Yelich hitting second. And he is one of those special generational type hitters that the Brewers are hoping becomes a cornerstone of their franchise. You've got Yelich locked up for 10 years. Braun's kind of on his way out. Maybe this year or next year will be his last year. And so you have a couple of pieces that look like, long-term pieces for the Brewers position player-wise, and Yelich, and now Keston Hiura, who's arrived on the scene in a big way. Great guy, too, just great teammate, personality, gamer, easygoing personality, but, doesn't take himself so seriously either. He's fitting right in with the Milwaukee crowd for sure.
And I like the fact Yelich, they got him, good timing on his part. I think he's the best player in the National League myself. And they got him signed 10 years. He's going to be a Brewer essentially for life, the prime of his career. We know he's been hurt a little bit, got hurt last year, of course, but, near the end. But we know what sort of player he is. I would think 60 games, he'd be fine. You don't want to have a slow start with him because he's very, very important. The Brewers have to have their big players play really well. And if they don't, that's, Hader's got to pitch well, Woodruff's got to pitch well. And a guy like Yelich has to go out there in 60 games. He's got to be the Yelich in midseason form. If that happens, they can be very effective. Is that a fair assessment or no?
Yeah, no, Yelich is certainly the guy. He's the centerpiece. He's the player that everybody game plans around. But he's not the only one. The Brewers do like here. You mentioned Hira, but Lorenzo Cain is under contract for a couple more years. I don't think Yelich feels like he's got to carry all of the load, but Yelich is the best player in the National League, and could certainly make an argument for best player in baseball as well with Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout is slightly ahead of him, but I think Yelich is still getting better. Again, going back to last night, we had him on the air. He wore a microphone the whole game. He struck out 3 times. I don't know if he'll ever wear a microphone again, but just talking to him as he was playing the outfield and how he's processing failure and how he processes success. It was really, I know him pretty well too, but I didn't know him like that in the middle of a competition. And to listen to him last night and just kind of get in his brain and as he goes through his process, wow. I mean, it was really, really impressive. And he did that for us for 5 innings. So he kind of took us inside the mind of Christian Yelich. And so I thought I loved him as much as anybody before last night, but after last night, I see why he's such a special player. And he's going to have to be a big bat in the middle of that lineup for sure, but he doesn't have to be the only bat.
All right, and finally the schedule. But I know they play 7 games, I think, at Wrigley Field, so they only get the Cubs 1 in their ballpark. Not that it makes any difference with the fans. I shouldn't even bring it up, but I know they play the 7 in Wrigley Field. Is their schedule conducive? They played, obviously, the travel's okay. White Sox, Detroit. I mean, not too far away. Give me a little rundown, not like the West, which still have to get on a plane a lot. Give me a little rundown on the Brewers' schedule with the 60 games. What'd you see? What stuck out to you? You're good at that stuff. What stuck out?
Well, the Brewers always have a great schedule because of their location and their division. So this year, their longest flight is going to be an hour to Pittsburgh. Everything else will be very short flights or buses. They have a number of trips down to Chicago, so they're going to be on a bus quite a bit. There's only 30 road games, and they're not going to have to endure anywhere near the travel that most other teams are, especially as you mentioned out west. So the crowd factor, I'll be curious to see how they run it now. Because last night they broke out the sound effects pad, and one of the little buttons on the sound effects pad is the boo button, and they actually hit that boo button for Christian Yelich to kind of prepare him for Wrigley Field. So I think the home ballpark can take some liberties there, but the home field advantage, the crowd will make no difference this year because of the idea of no fans. But 60-game window, Mad Dog. I mean, teams can get hot for 60 games, and they can carry that stretch on into the postseason. So obviously, the Brewers feel like they're ready to contend for a division, for a championship. But 60 games, a lot can happen. I mean, the testing that's going on, a few positive tests, some injuries. Next thing you know, your whole season could be derailed. So it's kind of like walking through landmines, from a baseball perspective. And I think every team would make that argument right now. And the Brewers are no different.
Can't lose a big star. Good point, Brian. Enjoy. Always a pleasure to talk. Enjoy the ball games. Thanks very much today. Thanks for coming on.
All right. See you, Mad Dog.